Ah, the living seas. This is one of the more remarkable undertakings that Disney put out there. When they decided to build something that was a fully fledged nod to the ocean, an homage to the ocean, if you will, they really came up with something spectacular in concept. Now, of course, it didn't quite come out the way they wanted it to in the long run. When you look at everything that they did and what they could have done, it's really remarkable because they could have made something that had the Poseidon adventure where you were learning about sort of the mythological part of it and the nature of the seas and just how rich and their history is and how much depth, if you will, there is to everything to understand about the oceans, and just how much there is going on. It's incredible how when you think about the oceans, the things that you could put into it, though Disney decided not to after they started to have funding issues. But it would have been really neat to see that, and then to see like sort of the explorer viewpoint. What was it like to explore the oceans and to go around? Would have been really neat to see. So it's unfortunate they didn't build that, but what they did build in this 57 million gallon fish tank was just amazing. And the fact that they had this movie that they showed, and then at the end you went on the sea cab ride to go to Sea Base Alpha, it was really pretty neat. So I always was kind of fascinated by that. Now, like I said in the podcast, I was 20 or so when it first opened, and I was kind of intrigued by the whole thing. And it was really kind of neat. And I remember going there, the first time I went was with my grandparents, and we were there, and we took the hydrolator, and it was kind of an intriguing concept. You take the hydrolator and you're not sure what exactly it's doing. It feels like it's moving, and it feels like maybe it's going below ground, but Florida has a funny water table, and where were you going? And it seemed unlikely that you were going deeper than the rock bed and maybe going into the ocean, though they kind of play this game where it makes you feel like maybe that's what you're doing. It was kind of hard it was kind of unbelievable. You had to extend your credulity a little bit, be incredulous about it, because when you think about how deep it goes, you go, I don't know. But what I was thinking was that there was actually two levels, and maybe the first level was where you entered above the ground level, and the second level was, basically underground, essentially at ground level, sort of like in the Magic Kingdom. You have the Utilidor underneath the Magic Kingdom, or in when you go over to the land pavilion, you actually walk up a ramp so you can go down below. So I was thinking maybe it was something like that they were playing a little game with us, and it was, like a half floor below. But it turns out, on probably my second visit to it, it was the first time we went to it, we were there for a second day, and we went into it, and we were standing there by the door, by the exit doors. And my grandfather and I were talking about it because we weren't sure how it worked. He was a smart guy. He had a pretty good savvy idea of how things worked. And he's going, I can't believe they go down more than one floor. Maybe they don't even go to one floor. And just then, a cast member was passing through and opened the door next to the hydrolators and just walked outside. And we looked at each other with this kind of dumbfounded look like, oh, it really does just go outside. Okay, it doesn't do anything. We're on the same level. So the illusion was lost, but they did it so convincingly that I still remember it to this day. I mean, that was 35 years ago, and I still remember it as being something kind of interesting that thought about the fact that it may have gone below ground. But the hydrolators were really cool, and the illusion was effective, and it made you think that somehow you were going below the surface of the ground level. But the story of it was really neat. Like I said, there was a few things. There wasn't a really compelling thing that brought it all together. It was missing something, that sort of storytelling where it came together with a richness. But you learned something, and it was still pretty neat to go in there and learn something. And aquariums are always cool because you learn something interesting about fish and different wildlife that live in the ocean. And that's kind of interesting on its own. There's some very interesting creatures that are in the oceans. So kind of neat that they had that anyway. I did mention that there was a VIP lounge, and I do have a little video here from someone else where the VIP lounge, what it looked like, and it's kind of got that 70s, early 80s sort of feel to it. It's the sunken bedroom feel, someone called it. Thought that was kind of neat, but kind of a neat place because you have the view of the fish tank, and then you have the restaurant, the Coral Reef restaurant, which is kind of funny. I always think about this, that I'm eating fish in front of the fish, so I'm sort of taunting them in a way. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of neat that they have this, and it's a very nice restaurant. And I had an opportunity to sit right by the tank one time, and it was really cool. Just neat to be able to see the divers and the fish and everything going right by. It's actually pretty neat. But this was one that I really liked, really enjoyed what it stood for, and sort of that representation of where we are as people in terms of the oceans and our relationship with them. It's kind of unfortunate that they sort of shifted it a little bit more to the Finding Nemo, which, fictitious story that doesn't really tell you anything about the oceans. So they sort of lost that nature of it a little bit, because at least they were giving you that when you first go in. Even if it wasn't exactly what you thought it might be, it still gave you some feeling toward it. So kind of sad that they did that. Though I don't mind the Finding Nemo ride, it's okay. It's, you know, nothing good or bad. And you still wind up at Seabase Alpha, where you can go and watch different things related to the animals and the fish. So you learn, so you can still learn something. And, you know, it's still an opportunity to entertain and amuse and edutain. So there you go. That's my story about what that's all about. If you have questions, any thoughts about it, let me know. Something I wanted to address that came up was the actual volume of water that's inside the tank. So I said it was 5.7 million gallons. John Ritter said it was 6.5 million. I've seen other numbers online, and it's a little bit confusing what it actually is, but we can see this is a cylinder. And it has a certain diameter, and there's a cutout in the middle that would be Seabase Alpha, so we can deduct that out. But because we know the depth, we have everything we need to be able to do a calculation. If we go back and we look at some of the figures and how we calculate this, all we need is the diameter and the depth. And we know it's 27 feet deep. The diameter, we found out, is about 200 feet based on the original drawings. So if we do the calculation that it's pi times the diameter over 2 squared times the height, that would be the depth, we can get the actual number that's the cubic feet that's inside there, and then we can do the calculation for how much water there is. So pretty straightforward. So we know that the number is actually 200 divided by 2, square that, times 27, times pi, and we get that it's 873,425 cubic feet inside this cylinder. So that's how many cubic feet are inside in the interior volume. Now we can go ahead and take the number that 1 cubic foot is 7.4813 US gallons. I'm going to round that up to 7.5 just to make it easy. But it's a really simple calculation from here, because I know 873,000 cubic feet times 7.48 gallons per cubic foot, we can actually come up with a number of 6.5 million gallons inside the tank if it didn't have Seabase Alpha in it. But because it does, we have to deduct out some amount to cover for what Seabase Alpha is. Now, knowing about how big that is, we can actually deduct out some amount, and that's going to be about 800,000 gallons. That's maybe a little over 10%, 11% or so of the total volume of it that's filled up with Seabase Alpha. And that makes a lot of sense. When you look at the picture, it's probably about right that it's about 11, maybe as much as 12%. So we deduct out 800,000 gallons, and that leaves us with 6.5 million gallons minus the 800,000 is about 5.7 million gallons. So John Ritter was right when he said 6.5, and then we were right by saying it was 5.7 because it actually deducts out what Seabase Alpha has in it. Anybody else who gives you a number is probably wrong, and it is 200 feet across. Now I'd like to share with you the videos from the actual film that was shown in the original pavilion, and then also the sea cab ride. Then after that, I'm going to show you the Finding Nemo attraction, because it is really cool the way they do the projection up on the screen, and you can actually look out and see the sea creatures behind it, so it looks like they're actually in the tank. And then finally, I'll do a little bit with Turtle Talk with Crush, so you can see how that looks, because it's a very cool interactive effect.
Try to imagine, just for a moment, that somewhere in the endless reaches of the universe, on the outer edge of a galaxy of 100,000 million suns, deep within a cluster of slowly forming planets, a small sphere of just the right size lies just the right distance from its mother star, cooling in the coldness of space. Try to imagine. Now that sphere's creation continues as countless volcanoes spew clouds of gas and steam into the sky from melted mineral formations. And then that cloud-covered planet waits. And waits. And waits. Until finally those clouds of gas and steam condense and rain upon that planet. Rain upon that planet, Earth. And they rain, and rain, and rain. The deluge. deluge of such magnitude that the world's greatest waterfalls, flowing together for more than 1 million years, would only just begin to approach its results. For when it finally stopped, the seas had been born. Seas that would make this planet unlike any other within the realm of our knowledge. For it was there, sheltered from cosmic radiation, that the means to support life on Earth was able to emerge. Tiny single-celled plants, phytoplankton, that capture the energy of the sun and convert it into that most basic of life-sustaining elements, oxygen, creating more than half the Earth's supply. But more than that, those same seas interact with that same solar energy and the Earth's rotation to serve as the engine that drives all the world's weather. Yet these phenomena occur in only the first few hundred feet of seas that average greater than 2 miles in depth. And it is there, in those depths, in an endless night, darker than the darkest night on land, that we are just now beginning to explore an amazing world. There, amid raging underwater storms and fiery underwater volcanoes, mountain ranges that dwarf the Himalayas and gorges 4 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. There, 2 miles deep in that darkness, an amazing world. A world where the cold sea pours deep into the mountain's warm core through immense cracks in its surface, and then rises back to the ocean floor as a superheated, mineral-laden fluid, emitting what to us would be lethal concentrations of poisonous chemicals. Yet, incredibly, around these strange vents, exotic life forms flourish. Life forms that have astonished biologists by finding the means for their survival, not in photosynthesis and the sun, but in the chemicals of the Earth itself. Chemosynthesis, an ecosystem like none other on Earth, until now scientifically inconceivable, yet there, nevertheless, deep beneath the sea, waiting for our discovery. Waiting in a world where we've spent less time than on the surface of the moon. A world we've only just begun to explore, with tools we've only just begun to imagine. Tools with which we'll go where no one has gone before. Searching these seas for the knowledge they conceal and the resources they hold. For answers to our past and keys to our future. What kind of future will it be? Try to imagine, just for a moment, a future of amazing technological creativity. A future of incredible adventure and discovery. A future of remarkable awareness and understanding. Try to imagine. For we welcome you now to take the first steps into that future. We welcome you to the living seas. We welcome you to Seabase Alpha.
Seabase Alpha to sense the edge of guilt.
Please take young children by the hand and watch your step onto the moving platform. The platform and your vehicle are traveling at equal speed.
10-4. We have quite a variety of marine life living within our base of operation, which is the largest of its kind in the world. Down here we see everything from sharks to dolphins, lobsters to pufferfish. You might even spot a moray eel or two lurking beneath the coral. But not to worry, they all get along just fine, even with our divers. Anyway, we'll see you shortly. Enjoy your visit to Sea Base Alpha. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Commander Fulton of Sea Base Alpha. Now, in just a few minutes, your sea cat will be arriving at our visitor center, final destination on your journey into the sea. In the meantime, if you'll look out to your right, you'll see part of the coral reef community that surrounds us down here. At any given time, there may be more than 6,000 fish, crustaceans, and marine mammals.
Nemo! Nemo! I am not going to lose you again! Do you hear me? Nemo! Nemo! Where are you, son? Nemo? Oh, no, not again! Nemo! I am not going to lose you!
Along the way. Let's go explore. Let's go explore the big blue world.
Baby can't explore without Nemo.
I'm sure we'll see him any minute now.
Nemo!
Oh, science trainers, so to know. I for the science.
Hi, I'm Dory.
I am looking for my son!
Ooh, I can help. Oh, Fabio!
It's Nemo!
Where?
I don't know where. That's why we're trying to find him.
Find who?
Oh. Nemo! Where are you, Nemo?
Who's Nemo?
He's my son. You know that.
I do.
We went on a huge adventure together, which you don't remember at all.
Nemo! Why don't you drop by for a little bite? Oh, what I'd give for a little bite. Little clownfish, where are you? Nemo! Why don't you drop by for a little bite? Oh, woohoo!
Nemo, give me some fish! Nugget, dude!
Oh, okay, little dudes, get ready to rock!
Remember, bring it
That's what everybody's looking for. Little Marlin, woohoo! Okay, little dudes, get ready to rock!
In the big blue world, I'm gonna go explore the big blue world. And all of them are up there for me. That's what blue world I've never seen.
Look at all the humans in the human tank. Hey, how you dudes doing in there today? Awesome, got some big dudes on the benches. Hey, big dudes, give me some fin. Excellent, got some little dudes down.
Sweet.
Put them together, say, totally sweet, dude.
Totally sweet, dude.
There you go, dude. You're totally talking like a turtle now, dude. You so totally rock.